And looks like we are live. Awesome. Hey, everybody. It's Sunday evening, doing a Sunday chat a little later than usual. In fact, it's a Sunday into Monday chat because we have Shane from Intheblues in the house. How you doing, man?
How you doing? Thanks for having me on. I'm doing well, thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Good weekend. Ready to tackle another week. I saw you got a couple of videos up in the last day or two.
Yeah. I played live last night too, so I'm a little husky today. So
Oh,
my
fair
my
enough.
voice is about half an octave lower than it would normally be. But yeah.
I know the feeling.
I'm always trying to keep pretty busy with my content. Just
Oh, sure.
getting the stuff out there. It's good fun.
Yes. I haven't checked out the Origin video put up a couple hours ago yet, but I watched what was the amp you put up yesterday?
The
Uh,
Carlsbro.
yeah, that surprised me. I was like, that's an interesting little amp. I like that.
You know
Yeah,
what's hilarious? I think I like that better than all of the Origin amps.
really. Okay.
Yeah, the 50 is
Nice.
good. I like the 50 Origin amp, but the five, it's funny because what happens is when you're in the room sometimes and you're filming and you've got an amp up loud, it sounds better because it's just a loud amp in the room. But when you listen
Sure.
back, sometimes you go, and I've got good like mics and recording equipment's pretty
Sure.
decent. So I listen back and I'm like, yeah, there's something about that I don't like. And I could hear that wait and see what you think of the video anyway. But I wouldn't buy the amp that I tested yesterday. I went in blind. I had all the amps for a day, and
Right.
I thought I'm going to try and get the best sound I could out of this, and that's what I did on the video. And I don't. Yeah, I think there's a lot of overhype about those amps going on right now on YouTube, and I like sort of yeah, working that out and mentioning it
Right.
if it's hype or not. So let me know
Sure.
what you think when you get a chance to check it out. But I wasn't overly
Sure.
satisfied with the sound for does the sound justify the hype? And I don't think it
Right.
does. So, but yeah.
I'm just going to quickly check the chat here. We got Tone Bolts from your neck of the woods.
Oh, cool.
Michael Bishop, Fender Guru from New Zealand. Mr. BHB, I think that's Bruce out of Ohio.
Oh,
Our
awesome.
Metal Stage podcast.
Yeah.
Michael
Well, hey, howdy.
Bishop, Jim Guidry.
I got the chat
Wow.
open now too. Awesome.
R2R3 Locking Nut, Absolute Mayhem, David Ennis. Welcome, everybody. That's awesome.
It's
Dave
funny.
Byron's
I'm
in the
like
house.
really bad with names, and then like when I see names written down, I'm like, hey, I recognize nearly everybody. So
Yeah.
it's good.
It's a large community, but it's also a small community, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, compared to say like the technology niche or stuff like that, it's tiny.
Yeah.
Like the largest guitar channels have nothing on like the average size good tech channels
Yeah.
or travel
Yep.
channels or something like that. So the vlogging
Hmm.
channels, there's never going to be a 7 million subscribed guitar YouTube channel. It's just not
No.
going to happen. There's just not that sort of interest in it. There's a huge interest in music, but in just straight up like guitar channels, I don't think you'll ever see one with
Right.
a very quick growth to 7 million subscribers. It's pretty rare. I don't think
Very
that'll ever
true.
happen. Maybe over 20 years it could happen, but yeah, you see some of these channels just come out of nowhere
Yeah.
with in the technology niche, and it's on a whole different level. So
Hey, we got Steve Anderson from Victoria, BC in the house. Nice.
awesome.
Very cool. Yeah. So you gigged last night. How'd that go?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was all right. I forced myself to play 5 new songs.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's all. I'm a huge JJ Cale fan. Like I really
Okay.
am. And
Yeah.
I love his laid back vibe. But,
Mhm.
I think Clapton kind of was the guy that I liked the most for a long time. But then when you find out a lot of the songs that he played and made famous with JJ Cale songs, it gets you into these other artists. And then you
Mhm.
realize like how underappreciated JJ Cale was or is. I know he's
Yep.
passed away now, but wow, like
Sure.
just a great songwriter, super chilled. And it's almost like
Mhm.
he had nothing to prove on guitar, but it sounded great.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys I listen to a lot and just appreciate how chilled it is. So
Sure.
I decided to try some of his songs last night. It was good. It was good fun.
Nice. Nice.
Thanks.
It's always nice to push yourself. Now, when you play, I'm assuming you usually play like a gig where you're playing all night, like multiple sets over the course of a night?
Yeah, last night was just a jam. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to host that jam night for a long time, but I don't anymore. But I still go there to play and have some fun. I play a bit of bass there as well. But
Cool.
usually with the full blown gigs, yeah, 3 sets, usually 8:30 till 11 something. So
Right. Yeah, kind of the same thing around here.
You do live gigs as well?
I do.
Cool.
Not as many as I'd like to, obviously. There's more. There's still more bands than there is venues left. It used to be a handful of bands and lots of venues, and now it's shifted. But we get out there and we'll play 3 to 5 sets in a night, depending on the place. And they always say, if you got the dollar, I got the song. So
yeah, nice. I noticed that even when I was in San Francisco last year. Like I've played there a few times with a couple of local bands, and some of the venues that were there 3 or 4 years before aren't there now. There's still a few that are still doing live music, obviously, and it seems much better there than it is. Well, maybe not better than it is here in Melbourne, but I think live music's more appreciated there than it is here in venues. Unless you're playing cover band music where I live, there's not a huge audience for blues and soul music and all that kind of stuff, where people just want to hear the hits here. They want to hear the AC/DC and the, we've got Cold Chisel. That's I don't know if you know them or not, but yeah, they want to hear the 80s and the 70s and 80s songs still today. So it's
oh yeah, I
find
find
it scenes. It's really weird.
We do Beatles, solo members of the Beatles stuff, traveling Wilburys. It's
yeah.
Oh yeah, some Tom Petty. Yeah. Nice middle of the road stuff where you could play in a blues bar, a rock bar, or a country bar, and nobody would be offended if you played in any of the places.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, what I was getting at, there's a lot of good music there in those eras, obviously, but the stuff that's really popular in like pubs or bars here and all that kind of stuff is, your cover band, full blown cover band stuff. You could be playing the best Jimi Hendrix covers anyone's ever heard, but they don't. Right. That's not. They want to hear Bon Jovi. It's a very different sort of thing. So, yeah.
There's one band out of your country I've enjoyed over the last few years, the Lazies.
I don't know those guys. Yeah,
you don't know the Lazies? Okay.
No.
Very much in the same vein as AC/DC. They have that, 3-chord rock attitude. Cool. A bunch of young guys. Of course, they've all changed their last name to Lazy, like the Ramones did. And they took off here in Canada, and I swear they spend a third of the year in Canada touring because we just embrace them, and they're really digging it. Yeah.
So where are they from, sorry?
All I know is Australia.
Oh, they are from Australia.
I don't.
Yeah, the way it works here is they'll have to be big somewhere else before anyone here will appreciate them.
Oh yes, right.
That's exactly how that works. It's happened with a lot of bands where they probably couldn't or wouldn't have been as big unless they went somewhere else and became big. It's kind of like what happened to Hendrix. He wasn't popular until he went to England.
Right.
At least under that assumption, he sort of blew up when he was away and then came back and everyone loved him. So, or Stevie Ray, I think, was like booed off stage in his early days, and then then he became like one of the more modern guitar gods. So it's it's an interesting sort of thing how that happens.
Yeah. Well, we got a question for you here. Steve Anderson asks, does your band play any Robin Trower stuff?
No, I don't really know any Robin Trower stuff. I've been meaning to sort of get in, really just like listen to a lot of his music, but I've never really. It always slips my mind. I get that question a lot, and I hear he's fantastic, but I honestly I don't know. I couldn't name one of his songs. I know he's supposed to be great. So no, is the quick answer, but not because for any other reason than I'm uneducated on his music.
Yeah. Like I say, he's a monster player, and you could listen to. You might choose one of his, let's say, simpler songs on an album. You're like, hey, I might be able to do that one, until you hear the bridge or something, and there's going to be a turnaround or something. You're like, I could work on that for 3 months, and I'll never nail it.
You just leave that part out. That's the way my band would do it.
Sure.
Hey, we've got Showman Blues here as well. Welcome, man.
Yeah. Showman and Hunter and wow, all kinds of folks. We've got 21 people watching by the looks of things. That's awesome, guys. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Hanging out with Shane on a Sunday/Monday. And I did get rumored that we may have another Canuck with a guitar pop in shortly. He was running behind. I think he's just getting home now. So for those interested.
Is that a double neck SG behind you, by the way?
That is, yeah, what we would call a
Okay.
Fibson, you know,
yeah.
made after hours. It's basically a conversation piece. Paid $50 for it. It's barely played.
Cool.
But yeah, who knows? One day, the neck's not bad on it, so maybe one day I'll throw some decent electronics in it.
Yeah, cool.
No, I'm playing something more that you would enjoy, sir.
Hey, very nice.
This would be my 71 Telecaster.
Beautiful. Looks great.
Thank you.
Pretty mint condition too. Well, it's hard to sort of tell over here, but yeah, it looks great.
It's pretty darn good. Yeah, we just recently did some mods to it. We put the modern bridge on it with the 6 saddles, so you don't have to deal with the intonation issue of a Telecaster bridge.
Yeah, that can be a little bit of a pain. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and the one that was on it too was very much a cheese grater for palm muting. So I was just like, let's put the modern bridge on it. It bolts on without any modifications, so no harm, no foul. You keep all the original parts in a bag aside. So.
Yeah. I'm not that much of a gear snob, man, with stuff. I believe in using whatever works. And if you'll never see me own a guitar and put it under the bed. Right. I'm not that sort of dude. So if you need to modify something, I mean, look at this. I got my 52's been modified to no end over the years. That I had some single coil pickups made for the guitar a couple of months ago. I've done this twice where I've ordered single coil pickups and ended up going back to these Danny Gatton pickups just based on the fact they're more functional for everywhere I play. And when I record at home, there's no buzz, which I love. I changed the plate, so I've got a little bit more of an angle on the switch, so I'm less likely to accidentally knock it. It's one of those little things that makes a difference. But I've noticed my intonation's a little out on this as well, so I'm going to have to fiddle around with this thing and try to get, I think the D or the G strings are a bit weird, but you're right. These three saddle bridge things can be a bit of a pain. But no, your guitar looks great.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Good telly.
Well, this was to replace the other one. See, because I know you're a telly guy, Shane. And the first guitar I learned any chords on was this Telecaster.
Oh, wow.
And this was previously owned by my father, and it's a 1967 Telecaster.
Wow. Beautiful.
So, yeah, with EMGs in it. So, of all things.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
Well, you know, back in the day, well, still a lot of places, the wiring is really bad. So you get that 60 cycle hum.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yep.
And he played that thing through a Fender Twin, loud and clean. And he just wanted a quiet signal. So he heard about these EMGs and he installed them in like 1985. So, yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Little did I realize he turned it into a beast, man.
Yeah, there's something that's one of the reasons I went back to those pickups too, man. Like one gig I did recently, the buzz was killing me. Anytime you stack an overdrive on an amp or you add more gain and you've already got buzz, it gets worse. So it's one of those things where I was just like, you know what? It's distracting for me. I can't handle that. I could have sat on like both pickups all night in the middle position, but I'm more of a either neck or bridge player on a telly. I like both. I don't necessarily use both pickups unless, occasionally I want that sort of funky sound, but I don't use that a lot. I can get that out of the neck pickup. So going back to those pickups was just like, I finally got my sound back. So we'll see what happens. I changed my mind on the, just on a whim sometimes about stuff. But I definitely like those Joe Buttons. I'm going to give a shout out to Jamal. How are you, man?
Oh, cool. Welcome, Jamal.
Yeah.
I saw his name and I didn't think of anything. I'm like, all of a sudden, wait a minute. I'm not watching one of Shane's feeds, because I'm used to seeing him on your channel.
Yeah, he does our live hangouts as well. I was supposed to do one yesterday, but I just had too much stuff going on with all the editing and then going out and having a play. But yeah, I'll probably get together and do another one of those coming up soon.
Yeah, Rich is just having a bit of an issue, so there we go. He's like, "Where's the link? How do I jump in?" It's like, scroll up, buddy.
No worries.
Yeah, and we got JJ's House of Jams. He's been uploading a couple of videos of songs he recorded with his old band. Really cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, Adam EVH. Awesome. Yes. So, primarily, what have you been playing on lately as your number one? Is it your telly, or you still in the Paul Reed Smith world?
Yeah. So after I got my PRS SE, so by the way, it's just is it behind me? No, it's not. I love that guitar. I borrowed it from the shop to do that video. Like, they didn't give it to me or anything. It's just like I get to borrow whatever I like from Sky Music and then take it back whenever I'm done. And I didn't want to give it back. And that's the first time in about 2 years, I guess 2 years, where I didn't want to, like, I had that sort of like, I couldn't sleep. I didn't want anyone else to get that guitar. Like, I felt close to that point a few times, but never that bad. Like, the next day you wake up and you go, oh, it's, I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger on it or whatever. So that was the guitar for me that I went, this is really good. Like, everything about it, I haven't done anything to it. Like, I think I added or tightened the springs a little bit or something on the tremolo arm. That was it. Like, I didn't have to adjust anything on it. And that's a first pretty much for any of my guitars. Even some of my Japanese Tokai guitars, I've got to set the intonation up, or string height might be a little off. And that's been the case with my Tokai Les Paul behind me here somewhere.
Yep.
But that was the first guitar that I just went, wow, this is really different. And I should have, I never had a chance to try an SE because they never made them either in a left-handed guitar.
Right.
But yeah, I love that thing. I played it last night and it's great. I'm using that primarily into the Marshall DSL 40, one of the new CR amps. And just the sound I'm getting out of that is unbelievable. So last night I actually decided to take my pedal board with the Marshall for the first time. I never use pedals with that amp, and I actually prefer just the built-in drive tone of that amp over using the clean channel with pedals. So that amp just totally rocks. I stopped playing my Telecaster for two reasons. I needed a new nut. The nut was completely shot on the high E string, so the thin one was like all the way down. And made it unplayable. And once I got that fixed, I had the buzz issue a lot in most of the places I play, as well as here. Like, recording with the single coil guitar here is pretty tough. I have to gate it normally to make at least make the recording sound less distracting. So that was the other reason I didn't play it. And then I also felt like the sustain on the Telecaster wasn't what it was with the old pickups. I just couldn't get it to ring out the same. So once I put the buttons back in, I've actually been playing that a lot again. So between my 52 Tele and my PRS, they're pretty much the two guitars that I'm playing the most. I'm trying to kind of mix it up. Like, on my videos, I pick like different guitars. I've been playing the Les Paul a bit, or a 335 or whatever. So I do grab different guitars, but I would say they're pretty much the two that I enjoy the most, the PRS and the Tele. Yeah, cool. And the Fender amp still gets used occasionally, but not very often. I'm actually preferring the tones I'm getting out of the Marshall, which I can't believe it after 20 years of playing live and dismissing Marshall and PRS gear. I'm sort of like, what am I doing? Like, this is just blowing my mind. But, sometimes it takes a while to find these things. So now I guess in a way, like, I've got the best of both worlds. Like I said, my tastes change. One day I want to play the Tele. The next day I want to just play the Les Paul or the 335 or something. So, but yeah, I'd say out of all the stuff I'm using the most, the two amps I'm using the most, the Bandit and the Marshall. The Fender comes in third at the moment. I just don't.
Right. Yeah. And which Fender is that?
It's a Blues Deluxe reissue.
Oh yeah, I have the same amp. That's what I gig
phenomenal
with.
Amps. Yeah, they're great. I changed the speaker in mine to a Eminent Swamp Thing, and it turned it into I had a two rock, and I reckon that sounds way better than the two rock with the Swamp Thing speaker. And yeah, it's a great amp. And I mean, I gigged with that for years, but there's something about the Marshall that just makes it easy. All I do is put a wah pedal on the ground and I'm kind of good to go. So it's a bit more liberating. You can focus more on your playing than sort of if something's not right, you got to tweak it, you know, like just turn them up and far out. It's just too much fun. So I'm really enjoying that at the moment. As much as I love pedals, if I'm using a Fender amp, I'm taking my pedals and I can get my sound really easy that way. But
hey, there he is.
Ah, I figured it out finally.
Shane, Rich, Shane. Yeah. I take you're not on the iPad, Rich.
I am on the iPad.
Oh, you are on the iPad. Okay, cool.
How you going, Richard?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. Not too bad.
Headphones here. 1 second.
Cool.
I'm sure there's a few laying around since that's the room we practice in. We practice through headphones, so just a guess. Cool. See, I see we got Terry's GG&G in the house.
Yeah, Terry, you're welcome.
Cool guess. He looks a little familiar.
Yeah, Terry helps moderate my channel as well. So,
yes, I just subbed to him last weekend, and he subbed me back, and that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so we got James McCutcheon in the house. He's a lefty.
I got to say too, Terry, your new Telecaster's great, man. That you got one of those vintage modified Squires.
Oh yeah,
it's like
nice,
like kind of like a 72 thin line. It's a single coil 72 thin line, not one with humbuckers, which is cool.
Okay,
so yeah, it looks great. It's like a shoreline gold color as well. So the color.
Oh, right, I have to check that out. Is there a video up of it?
Yeah, you put one up.
Oh, cool,
so,
cool.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have to
nice
check that out. Yeah, speaking of thin line tellies, he has one with P90s in it.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice. Is it a 72 style one? Is it or?
Yeah, it's done in that style, but with P90s instead of the wide range humbuckers.
Yeah, it's probably, you know, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but that would be a much better option. I reckon those thin line tellies, Achilles' heel is those pickups. They're just too muddy. The humbuckers,
right?
They've got a very unique sort of sound, but I don't know.
They're every good pickup, just maybe not for that guitar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That combination is weird. Like you can't get the neck pickup to sound clean or clear once you start playing up a little higher. It sounds really. It's got this woolly overtone, tone wise. I don't know. It's all subjective stuff. There's probably some guy out there who makes it sound great.
Hey, we got Mark Taylor watching. Awesome. Oh, my cousin Doug. And he's in the chat. He's a big music fan, not a musician, but a big music fan. And he likes to tune in every once in a while and give us a hard time. So nothing wrong with that. So Rich, you have something in common with Shane in the fact that you both have an affinity for Japanese guitars. I know Shane has a huge soft spot for the Tokais. And Richie's always going on about the Japanese built this and Japanese built that, which same here. You know, I enjoy them as well, but thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, what sort of guitars you got, or what do you like Japanese wise?
Japanese. I really like anything that came out of the Matsumoku plants. Like they were great, absolutely great. You could pick them up for a song, and then everyone found out they were great, and all of a sudden the prices went up on them.
Yeah. There's shops here in Melbourne that stock 100 used Japanese guitars, and they're unbelievably good. Like,
wow.
Yeah, just insane. They're really good. Like I owned a custom shop VOS Gibson for a long time. I would put my bog standard Tokai LS 110 on par with the custom shop VOS guitar I had in terms of feel and build quality and all that kind of stuff. It's great.
I remember the overlap between those, Shane, and I swear it was like you made 5 videos justifying why you're keeping one and getting rid of the other almost, and you're like, just It was like, long story short, trust me, gang, this one plays way better than that one, so I'm keeping the one that plays well.
Yeah. It was more also like the same old thing. The P90s, I love the sound of them, but this is the reason I don't play a lot of traditional single coil pickups, is just the buzz. You know, like there's one venue, we got these things called, I don't know if you got trams in Canada or not, but you know, like rail car things that go by the venues, and it's just like creates like this bubble of, you know, white noise through everything electronic
Right.
when they yeah. So it's just it's like, oh great. So there
You
goes
may
that
not have
song.
noticed that when you're gigging on Queen Street in Toronto, Rich, but
Yeah,
I noticed that every time a streetcar would go by, you knew it.
It makes sense. I'd never noticed or really thought about it, but yeah. It totally makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the venues are right on the road, like right on the, you know, they're on the main road where they go by a lot, and a lot of traffic, and a lot of, it's just, there was some venues where it was impossible to play. Like, I got to say, in terms of actual physical feel, there wasn't, if I was to pick up either guitar blindfolded, I couldn't tell the difference feel-wise between them. So they both played extremely well. I actually set the Tokai up to match the feel of the Gibson because it did play really, really well. But they were indistinguishable blindfolded. Like you couldn't tell which guitar was what, unless, I mean, obviously tone-wise, if you plugged them in, you could tell the difference. But just in terms of build quality and physical feel, that, you know, they really nail their quality control's insanely good. Like, it really is. I've owned the equivalent in Gibson of a few of the Tokai guitars I've got, and man, just, you can't beat them for value. You really can't.
335's a Tokai as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that thing's unbelievable. I owned a 2008 ES335, and that kills it. Like, I had my 335 when I got that. Oh, I had a chance to, sorry, I didn't. I sold it, but I had a chance to play a 2008 Lefty at the same time I bought that back to back. There was one in the shop, and it was night and day. The difference was 50% tonal difference. If the Tokai played better, it was like nothing else. So I had a couple of good friends in the shop that day, and we all laughed. The guy in the shop was like, "Oh wow, that's interesting." Like, he couldn't fathom it. Yeah, he couldn't fathom it. So yeah, they're really good. I know a couple of guys in my town who play. They've had Japanese stuff from the 70s as well, and they're just great sounding guitars. So even the new ones are. I mean, like, that's a recent. The Les Paul's a recent guitar. You know, I've probably had this 3 years or something like that. You know, I'll sort of defy anyone to find a cosmetic flaw or, you know, a problem with the, you know, anything with
see,
it.
I'm looking at that, and I can already tell they did it right because, Rich, do you notice right now the pickups are flush with the pickup rings, like a Gibson, as opposed to like every other, you know, everything but a Gibson. You know, they're always raised up in Epiphones, most of the offshore stuff.
Yeah, and it's a 50s profile neck as well, so you get that big fat neck. It's kind of, I think, based loosely on is it a 59 or something like that? Like, it's not a, I know this particular color didn't come into some certain year, but I think in terms of the way that the neck shape is and all that kind of stuff, I think that's what they went for, that sort of fatter neck thing. But
it's 59.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very slash. I didn't love the color when I got it. I wanted the tobacco burst because it was way too slash for me this one. But
now you're
I played it. Yeah, that's it. I played it and I just went, oh man, I don't even want to risk getting another one. Like, this was just beautiful. But yeah, so this was one guitar that grew on me visually. I wasn't overly blown away by it when I got it in terms of just that color. It's not one of my favorite colors, but now I love it. So
yeah, I love a cherry burst myself.
And sorry, what brand was that?
Tokai.
That's the Tokai. Yeah.
Oh, that's a Tokai. Nice. Very nice.
It's an LS 110. I think it's got
nice.
I don't know. They put LH on the end of everything left-handed, but yeah. How much does this Les Paul weigh? That's from Locking Nut. It weighs the same as a regular Les Paul, so it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's not a light guitar. I played that for a full gig a while back, and my shoulder was killing me after I played it, because I've been using my PRS for so long, and that's been the light. Well, you know, it's a really light guitar. So going back to the Les Paul, I was like, oh man, like I actually woke up sore. I couldn't believe it because I try to keep fit, but that guitar just beat me down. But it's, you know, they're a good fun guitar to play, no doubt about it.
I can understand that. Yep, been there. Been there. I used to play
Yeah.
Les Pauls all the time, and I'm so glad I switched to Telecasters.
Yeah, Tallys are great. I find Tallys more like if you want to get a really great, cleaner rhythm tone, they're just they're unrivaled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Strats are good for that sort of stuff too, but Tally's just they're steely and they can be a warm sounding guitar, or but the brightness is there. It's just I think Tally's are most Strat guys will kind of dismiss Telecasters, and then they'll try it and they'll go, oh wow, okay, so none of my Strats do that.
Yeah.
And that's the turning point normally.
I agree. And you're in the Melbourne area, is that correct, Shane?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay. I mistakenly said Brisbane the other day on here, and somebody corrected me really fast.
Oh, that's all right. I'd probably sound more like this, mate, if I was from up there. That'll annoy everybody from Brisbane. No, I'm only stereotyping them. But I'm from Melbourne.
Quite all right. Got any questions there, Rich?
No.
You're just happy hanging out?
Yeah, just happy to be here.
Happy to be here, yeah.
I got to ask Richard, what's the green amp behind him, that little...
That was a Fender DeVille 410 at one point in time in life.
Oh, yeah?
And I just got sick of lugging the heavy old beast around, so she became a seafoam green Fender head.
That's great. A friend of mine's got one of those Fender DeVilles. He put wheels on it in the end. He leaves it at the venue we played at last night, but yeah, without wheels, man, those things are...
Yeah, I've got an SUV too, so it's a big lift getting it up in the back.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's brutal.
Very nice.
Oh, we got some single coil hum going on here.
Oh,
that might be me.
That's all right.
I don't know where it's coming from. Yeah, it started the other night too. So just gonna quickly check the chat here. I did say earlier, Mayhem had asked, have you ever gone into a shop, you seen a guitar you absolutely fell in love with, but there was no lefty model available? Not only at the store, but like the company just simply didn't do one?
I think that's probably happened a lot over the years where I've seen, like, I remember before even I like flying Vs. They look weird, me playing one, but I actually don't mind those guitars because I'm a huge Albert King fan and Michael Burks fan. But those are I remember when I first sort of saw them floating around, I went, wow, they're really cool. But there's a few. So some of these have been made in the past and some haven't. So the Epiphone Casinos were previously made for lefties for a short amount of time, and now they're not. So I remember seeing them for years and years going, man, I'd love to buy one of these things in a left-hander, but they're not available. That was always the thing. Like there's been plenty of even stuff like the Firebird, Gibson, sort of that sort of thing. I went, oh, that's different. That's kind of cool. What else? I think you kind of get most of the ones that I really like now in lefty because I've shot a lot of videos for left-handed guitar shops as well over the years. So I've been able to pick up stuff that was custom made by the owner of that shop. Like Jerry, for example, orders lefties only for his shop, so you can't usually find them anywhere else. But so I've been in a weird situation where I've now been able to play a lot of the guitars I've always wanted to play but never found anywhere. But with the exception of that experience, there's hundreds of guitars I reckon I haven't been able to find in a lefty. So it's only over the last few years that I feel like the market's finally opened up in terms of what we can get and how hard they are to find or how easy they are to find, maybe is a better way of putting it, because you can buy almost anything online. I really wouldn't buy a guitar on the internet without playing it unless I'd previously played it at the shop and then I got back and went, all right, I'm going to order this because I've played it. I know what I'm getting.
Looks like we got Cheddar, Kung Pao, and
hey, cool.
Ed Dana in the house as well. A couple familiar names from your channel.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Cool. I posted a quick thing on the feed earlier, so it's good to see a couple of the guys jump in. That's awesome.
Yeah, right on. And Steve Anderson was... Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. All right.
Steve Anderson had a question for you. What guitar lines do you see mostly in stores in Australia? Like, is it
All right.
just the big two mainly, like Fender Gibson, or?
Yeah, it's been a bit weird lately because Gibson didn't have a distributor here. So whatever stock of Gibson's shops had were kind of like on their way out.
Right.
But that's been sorted out now. So you'll see a lot more Epiphones and Gibson's coming back in. But yeah, Fender's obviously a really popular brand. Another one I see everywhere now is Ibanez. They're making a lot more appealing guitars than maybe they did before to the general sort of population. Usually, you know, you'd have to wear black nail polish or something to be into them. But, you know, they're making guitars now that I'd be interested in. Like, they've got like the Fender style guitars as well as they're making stuff that would appeal to everybody is what I'm trying to get at. So
for a while there, it was complete shredder guitars and jazz boxes and nothing in between.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So, yeah, there's that sort of stuff. I see a lot of Gretsch guitars in shops.
Really?
We have a lot of, they're really popular. I mean, Fender are the distributors / owners as well. So anyone who has a Fender dealership or stocks Fender generally has Gretsch.
Really? Yeah, it's the opposite here. They make the quota so big from Fender that it's really hard to carry all four of their lines, you know, like Fender, Gretsch, Charvel, Jackson, and EVH. Very few stores carry all the lines. They just have to pick a couple of the five and go with that, sadly.
Okay. We don't really have any like Guitar Center shops here anymore. We had a chain that was really prominent like all over Australia, and they went broke, and then they got bought out by someone else, and then they went broke. And then they got bought out by someone else, and I think they're on their way out for the third time. So we don't really have that big chain anymore, which is a really good thing here. Like I kind of prefer the family-owned shops, generally because they're all a bit more unique, and that's kind of why I did that Guitar Search Saturday series. Was like you're not seeing the same shop everywhere you go. Like I traveled from Florida through to New Orleans, however you say it. And I went to 5 or 6 Guitar Centers on that whole journey, and they all had the same stock, and it was all the same left-handed one Mexican Telecaster, you know, in a lefty. So
I think I've seen all of those videos, and and I love that. Every time you go into a chain store, you're like, all right, folks, like before the doors even open, you're like, I'm going to take 3 steps in, and on the left, you're going to see this cheap amp that's always near the door, and you know, it's like, okay, and sure enough.
That's the sort of stuff you just come to expect. But when you're in these like independent stores, you tend to find different stuff than what you'd find in just those big chain shops that only carry the. You know, one thing I always thought was amusing was, you know, you go into a Guitar Center. I don't know. Do you have them in Canada? I've never really thought to ask.
We don't. We have Long and McQuaid, which is basically the same thing, just as inept and overbearing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
They got these posters of Marshall stacks all over their walls, right? But there's no Marshalls in the shop. Like, what's the deal with that? I just think that's hilarious. Why don't they maybe update their vibe a little bit? But anyway, yeah, I find like a lot of we've got some really small guitar shops here that will have they'll win PRS Dealership of the Year because they've got 30 PRS guitars and not a whole lot else. You know, although they've got a small selection of other guitars, but they specialize in something, and that seems to be like the way a lot of the shops here are. But I'm seeing more and more of the, you know, not the trade shops, but the shops that work on commission or consignment is the word I'm looking for. So, you know, you take your guitar in, they help sell it and take 20% or whatever. Those are the guitar shops that are probably the most interesting to go through because there's hundreds of great guitars and amps and stuff you wouldn't find in any of these other stores. I think more people are starting to shop in those kind of stores than just always going out and buying something new, or even the Facebook groups. You know, I don't know if you've got local Facebook groups that do gear trading
Facebook
and stuff, but
garage sale and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's the one thing I miss about not being on Facebook anymore was seeing those buy, swap, and sell things. You know, it's good to keep an eye on it, but the
last time I went into our chain store here, I And in theory, they're a Gretsch distributor or a Gretsch dealer. And they hadn't had a Gretsch for, what, 6 months, Rich? And the last time I go in there, they did, in fact, have one Gretsch hanging on the rack. And it was left-handed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it a White Falcon?
No, was a very low-end Duojet, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Mr. BJR says the Guitar Search Saturday show is genius. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've taken a break from it. They're really time-consuming videos, and I love doing it, but I want to keep it interesting too. So rather than go through lackluster.
Yeah, JJ says that James likes them too, but I don't think he likes your lefty alert. I personally like it, but if I'm not paying attention, it scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, that's the idea. It scares me when I see one in a shop. So it's like, oh, what? You know, it's weird how many people complained about that alarm. I'm like, really?
Well, see, I think that's fun because I try to spot the lefty before you set off the alarm. It's like, can I spot it before Shane does?
It's like, I've unsubscribed. That alarm's too loud. I'm like, oh, see you later. Like, you know, there's bigger problems in the world. Yeah. I can see where that's very time consuming. I did a couple. Our channel here is actually sponsored by a mom and pop operation. They have 3 stores, and I filmed 2 of them already. Cool. And that's what I thought immediately was, you know what? I was like, we always shout out Arden's Music, ardensmusic.com, folks. And I thought, well, let's show the viewers what it looks like. So I just basically did a one-off shot of walking around the shop and stuff. And cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a collaboration Guitar Search Saturday or something. We'll,
sure.
Might be fun.
Yeah, do the Kingston store, right, Rich? It's beautiful, and I haven't shot that one yet.
It's a really nice shot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What do we got going on here? Yeah, I thought I should probably look at the chat.
Right on, Absolute Man.
Ed said he got kicked out of the Hamptons when he was 17 by the police. Is that the shop there, is it? Is there a shop there, or I'm not too sure what that means.
I think it was the Hamptons Hotel.
Oh, I thought it was maybe one of their shops.
Line of hotels. I don't know. Where are you out of, Ed? Ed's Canadian, I believe. For some reason, I'm thinking Ed's Canadian. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
So you posted the first of the Origin videos, or are they all kind of wrapped into one?
Nah, I didn't do that. I wanted to do individual videos, and then I did some shootout comparisons. So I shot 5 videos in one day. So it was a huge, layout experience. I think, like, I don't usually like rushing through videos like that, but they came up okay. I mean, I tried to get the most out of what they do, but this is a really great example of overhyped stuff that gets promoted on YouTube, and this is why, you know, I always warn people when they see a couple of the first channels to review or demo anything, wait before you pull the trigger on it. I mean, some of this stuff is like, I don't want to say it's garbage, but it's nowhere near met my expectations, especially the 5. The 5 was like, I got a Bugera amp by Behringer back here. That, wait till you hear the shootout between that and the new Marshall. It's hilariously better. This one, by the way, no context there, but that one's hilariously better than than the Marshall, in my opinion. So look, they're not all bad. The large one I really liked. Everyone, when I bought the DSL, right, everyone's like, oh, you should have waited. You know, these new ones are supposed to be this, supposed to be that. They're going to be way better. The pedal platform, I've already got a pedal platform amp. I got a Fender. There's no better pedal platform amp in the world.
No.
So, it's one of those things where I was like, I want one that I can just plug into and not have to worry about any of that stuff. And after doing an A/B between them, I'm wrapped with what I got in this amp. I got to say, there's certain things that the Origin did better with pedals, but that's not why I bought this DSL. So, I think I've got videos going up every other day until they're all done. So I'm just doing the full week of Marshall amps. We'll see how many people unsubscribe. But, it's one of those things. Oh, you're a fanboy. Well, that's not what I said at the end of the video.
You're reviewing
anyone who
Marshall
watches
amps.
those anyone who watches those videos, wait till the end. I always put in my criticism of it. So while I had fun doing the video, I then listen back to the audio after I film and then give you my opinion on what I'm listening to. And if I like, if I think it sounds better on the recording than in the room, I'll mention that. Or if it sounds just as good, I'll enjoy it. But that was one of those amps where I listened back and I was like, I don't even know if I like the sound of this amp when I heard it back. And I've got good mics, like the mics I've been using on my amps and stuff. I've been using them for years for producing albums and all kinds of stuff. Like I know they work well,
right?
And it's nothing to do with the mic clipping. But some of those amps are inherently really nasty on the top end, and I'm sort of shocked. There's so much hype. I bought into it too. I was like, man, I can't wait to test these. The day they turned up, I went and picked them up, brought them home, filmed them, took them back. I was like, they're like, oh, what'd you think? I was like, oh, yeah, the big one's good. It's just odd. Like what I don't get about these new amps, I get in a way like a 5-watt practice amp doesn't need a big speaker. So if you just want to play at low volumes, you'll get a good sound out of it if you like the particular voicing of these amps. But what I don't understand is they released a 20-watt amp with a 10-inch speaker. And that is pretty confusing for like a Marshall sound, whereas the DSL 20-watt amp has a 12-inch. And I always feel like 10-inch speakers, especially in like a Princeton or whatever, aren't loud enough to gig with. So I'm a little confused on its purpose. You got an amp with a small speaker and a small box that won't be loud enough to take to a gig, but it's portable, but you can mic it up. But I don't know. I just don't get why you'd buy like the 20-watt amp over the 50, which you can then power down to 20 watts via the power attenuator. You get a bigger speaker and a bigger box.
Right.
So I don't know who the 20's aimed at. I don't get it. I mean, like this guy I know in Australia, Brett Kingman, he did a video on it and he made it sound great. It does that one particular thing pretty well, but I don't think you'll ever see him take it out and do a gig with it. Right. Because I don't feel like 10-inch speaker, 20-watt 10-inch speaker amps are going to be usable in a live situation. I don't know who that's aimed towards. So I don't see anyone asking that question. Like a Blues Junior is one of those weird amps that gets a lot of debate. There's some people swear they're loud enough to gig with. I don't. In the kind of music I play, I don't think they're loud enough. But they're loud enough in small venues, in a particular situation where the drummer might be playing brushes or he's playing like those sticks made out of plastic or whatever. I don't know what they're called, but those little, rod things that they use. But as soon as you start cracking on the drums, the Blues Juniors get lost unless you're mic'd up. And then you got the argument is not everyone has that luxury of being able to mic up their amps. So at certain venues, that they might not have a mixer or a PA system that allows you to do that. So, someone a comment that came up on the channel, which made me laugh actually, was I made a comment on what were they called? The Pro Junior video I did. It's got a 10-inch speaker and it's 15 watts. I was like, these aren't loud enough to gig with. What they do extremely well. He goes, I'll tell that to Jeff Beck. I'm like, dude, Jeff Beck's got a 20,000 watt front of house, 20,000 watt foldback, powered foldbacks and all this kind of stuff, and a professional sound engineer.
And coming back through his monitor, so he doesn't even have to hear it as a stage monitor.
Yeah, you could get away without an amp in that situation, just plug in through a Kemper. It wouldn't matter. Like you could play anything as long as he can hear it. It doesn't matter. But at your regular gig, where if you've got a drummer and he's taken off, or a big bass player, those amps, they got no way of keeping up. You might as well just take the little Bugera. Like it's not going to do. It's just not. They're not loud enough for that sort of thing. So I don't really know who those 20 watts are aimed at, and that I don't know why you'd buy that over a 50 that can also be powered down twice into lower wattage output. So it's a really interesting thing. I really don't know. I didn't look into why these amps were made or what the purpose was. I don't try to read a lot about them. I heard a lot of hype, but I don't necessarily try to push the narrative of the amp company in my videos. I just play it and then try to work out whether I like it or not. So
it will it work for you?
Yeah, and the 20, it sounded okay, but I was like, I don't know who this is aimed at, and that's the first time I felt like that. So
let alone if you're playing in a band with a second guitar player. Like Rich and I play in the same band together, and he usually plays through either a 112 you did last time but in the past it's always been 410s, and I always have 1 or 2 12s myself.
Yeah.
And we have ridiculous stage volume anyway, so.
Yeah,
well, I mean, ridiculous, but aggressive.
You guys micing up your amps at all in the mix? Or?
No.
Yeah.
We could, but that just means you got to run another few hundred feet of cable, because we don't play any place that even has a PA system. We got a card in the PA system too. Yeah. So
and this is the thing, a lot of people don't realize. They say, "Oh, it's easy to mic it up," but it actually isn't always easy to mic it up. It depends on a lot of factors. People just don't. I would say 90% of the people, and this is maybe an underestimation, 90% of the people that watch gear channels don't gig. That's totally fine, but they don't have the perspective of like carting their PA system around or working out how loud an amp is in any given room.
Or and that's the thing. Extra mics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's
just the cost factor, right? You figure, 5 mics, 5 20-foot XLR cables, a board that has the extra 5 channels.
Yeah.
Chances are you need a sound guide, because you can't, play sound check and mix it. It's one thing if you just have vocals, okay, or overall volume. Somebody can tell you, look, bring up the vocals or down the vocals, no big deal. But the whole band, forget it.
And I'll tell you what, in my experience, and this is just me, I played a place for like 10 years straight, except for this year, the place got sort of ruined, unfortunately, but like physically damaged. But we had our full band mic'd up in that room. Time and time again. I played a few festivals this year where the band was all mic'd up coming through the front of house. There's nothing that sounds better than not having that. Like if you're in a club where you don't have to mic up your amps or the drums, there's no better sound, because you're in full control of how everything is dynamically on stage, as opposed to being at the mercy of the guy at the front pushing up the drums to some ridiculous level, or the guitars or whatever. So I much prefer to have my amps, like acoustic on stage, as opposed to having them mic'd up and going through the front of house. Because as soon as you start doing that, it changes everything.
Yep. And then they always usually re-EQ you at the least. So then they have you coming through the monitor. You're like, who's that? And they're like, that's you. I'm like, it doesn't sound like me, dude.
I don't ever want to hear my amp coming back through the monitors either. Like, I just don't want that. I play with another guy, Brian, or Rick, or whoever's playing in my band. We've got 2 guitars on stage. Neither of us want to hear our own guitars or each other's guitars coming back at us, because we can always hear them. Like, how much guitar do you need in the fallbacks? So, exactly. Unless people have played live and they have this experience, it's hard to convince someone that 20-watt 10-inch speaker amp's going to be the best thing in the world, And a lot of people will go buy it for whatever reason, but getting back to that point, I'm confused on who that's marketed towards. Unless there's a specific guy who just wants to be mic'd up, who loves that sound, who's not going to play at loud volumes. There's that audience. But most people who buy a Marshall want to turn the thing up and make a lot of noise, right? Exactly. That's my assumption. So
Marshalls weren't built to be played at bedroom volume.
No, exactly. So 20-watt coffee house gig. Yeah, well, there you go. There's that as well.
If someone's playing like the drum kit is just a snare and a cymbal or something, or the guy's playing an upright bass or something like that, where you just need to make the guitar heard, not loud necessarily.
That also comes round to if you're playing with an upright bass, is the guitar player going to be owning a Marshall? And to get that Marshall sound, they've got to be cranked. So it's an interesting sort of thing. I mean, when I do my low volume gigs, I take a solid state amp. I've got a PV Studio Pro 112, and I always find like the solid state amps are better in that situation, where you can get a pretty usable sound without having to crank it. Someone asked a question here. Is that the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe? No, it's a Blues Deluxe reissue, just over there. That's from one of the guys there.
Yep. Still a great amp. I recommend that to anybody that's looking for a pedal platform, or because like myself, I get all my tone from pedals. I just want to go into a clean amp with lots of headroom, and that's the perfect amp for it.
Oh, totally.
Rich found me that amp, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had 2 of these now. I had one and I loved it, and then I sold it to get whatever else, what other amp I got at that particular point. It didn't last long, so I went back, got another one. Yeah, they're just a great pedal platform. I urge you though, if you're a pedal platform sort of guy, try the DSL 40 CR, the new one from 2018. Just stay off the ultra gain setting. Like there's 4 channels on that amp. There's a clean, and then there's like a crunch channel on the left hand side, and then there's the same channel on the right hand side, and then there's the ultra gain on the right hand side. Those 2 crunch channels are just I almost challenge you to give it a go and take in your rig and see if you can't dial in just as great a sound, just different. It'll sound different, but you know, the one thing I learned last night was that drive channel on its own is as good as my pedal board going into a clean channel.
Sure.
And it
Maybe
just gives you
I want to try that new generator, because I remember when you got that amp, I went, wow. Because like Rich knows, I've tried every previous generation DSL and I couldn't dial it in to save my life. And my dream is to play a Les Paul into a Marshall. Like that was my dream rig, right? Les Paul into a Marshall, the standard. And I was just like, I don't know how these guys play these things, but every time I do find a Marshall I can dial in, I buy it. Yeah.
I tell you the trick to it, and this is something that I always got wrong because I wasn't a Marshall guy and I never really understood them. And I should also say I tried previous generations of these and I hated them. I didn't think they sounded anywhere near as good as what this does. They got a great speaker in them finally. The Celestion V-Type, they didn't put a piece of junk in there. They're good speakers. The trick is they got master volumes on the right. Don't put them anywhere other than full blast. And then use your channel volume. As soon as you start to wind down the masters, you lose all the oomph of the amp and they sound like fizzy. Like everyone says, oh, they're too fizzy. They're fizzy if you don't run the master volumes up. So you want to get the power tubes working and then just run the actual channel, you know, as you would usually use it. And that just brings out, it really makes the amp sound live. And the thing I've done on, you know, on these Origin amp videos was to run them hot, like the masters on 10 on all the videos I did. And then I brought up the gain. So I tried to make them, try to emulate what I get out of this, you know, make it loud is better, basically. And yeah, I think if you're going to be using try the new DSL. I compared to the last generation one that I tried, I couldn't stand that amp. So yeah,
I'll definitely have to try the latest gen. Yeah, because I remember saw your video. I was like, I know you do a straight ahead sound. And I was like, man, that sounds great. I got to try that.
And it's funny because now it sounds way better than the video because I know how to use it properly. I know where all the sweet spots are. And it's as easy to get a good sound out of it now that I know how to do it as my Fender. You know how you just walk up to your Fender amp, you know roughly where you want to set the EQ?
Yep.
For me, it's only about the treble control on a Fender amp. Like, am I playing on floorboards and I turn the treble down? Am I playing on a carpeted surface? I maybe turn the treble up. You know, that's kind of how I know exactly how I set the bass and mids.
I'm the same way, but with the bass on my Fender amp. It's, you know, it's, am I running my bass at 3 or am I running it at 5?
yeah, that's it.
You know,
and these are things.
Do I need a little more oomph?
Yeah. Those are things that just change in context of how loud you are, or you know, the room you're playing in, and all that kind of thing as well. So I always, you know, the one question I've seen a million times is, how do you set your amp? I'm like, there's no real one answer for that, but I've got a rough guide that kind of works. It just depends on what I'm playing and what guitar I'm using a little bit as well and all that. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You have a variety of guitars, you're going to have a variety of tones. So, and it's just a matter of tweaking the amp. Yeah. And still, it's going to sound like you, right? I've noticed that, like, whatever guitar you're playing, it sounds like you. You come out and you're playing.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's just one of those things, like, inherently, like, a lot of people say, all overdrive pedals sound the same. But the thing is, the part of that conversation they don't think about is, I've got a sound in my head that I like, and as do you, and as do anyone who buys an overdrive pedal. And I made this comment on live stream recently where I kind of think like it's more about me wanting to dial in a sound I enjoy than maybe so much the difference in each pedal. It's kind of like I can get that pedal to sound maybe 80 to 90% of the way that I like it, or this one I can get to sound 95% of the way I like it, or a tube screamer just works. So there's a sound in I think most people have a sound in their head that they're trying to go for. And you can pretty much pull that out of most pedals, but I forgot what we were talking about. There was a point to this, but anyway, yeah, basically like
you sound like you when you play.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think I can get my sound out of almost anything, and just years of experience of playing hundreds of guitars now and amps and playing live. And playing live is the best thing to work out your sound. It really is. Like if you play live and you can film it or have someone record it, you'll know how good or bad your tone is and what you like inherently in it. But I spent a lot of time also trying to match tones from albums and trying to match tones from live concerts that I was hearing. I was like, I really dig that tone. How do I dial that in with the gear that I've got? So I learned a lot about what EQ can do for different guitars. And I love or hate my sound. That's the sound I enjoy. And I think it's become like irrelevant almost on what amp I'm playing now. If I'm playing the Peavey, the Fender, or the Marshall, with or without pedals on any given amp, I'm going to kind of pull the same sound. To some extent, there's differences in it, but I feel like pedals, there's less of a difference in it, where it's more about you'll basically use whatever platform you got to dial in the sound that you like.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, cool. My cousin writes, "Hey, Ben, another first-time guy in here is my buddy Hills. He's in a pretty good band here in Kitchener-Waterloo called Fog." Well, welcome, Hills. Thanks for tuning in. What kind of music do you play? Curious. Let's see. James says he's an old player. All tube amps, little effects. Yeah, that's the way my dad is. Yeah, why are you covering up everything with those effects? But then again, the heaviest band he ever listened to was CCR, so...
yeah. Great band, though.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Effects are fun.
Yeah, we got to cover some CCR. Just random thing.
I love that band. Every time I think of... you ever seen The Big Lebowski?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I always think of the dude banging on the roof to Credence. He's driving around to... what's that song called?
Looking out my back door.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. I wasn't sure if that's what it was called or not. I was like, is that the name of the song? Yeah. But yeah.
Let's see. Cheddar Compile says, "Since I'm new here, can I ask Ben and Rich, what are your number one guitars? And Shane, is your Telly back in the number one spot lately?"
You guys go first.
Cheddar, for me, my number one, my modded let me block the mic. My 1971 Telecaster that Rich modded for me with a modern bridge, Nashville wiring, and his Bane, the brass nut.
Yeah. And for me, my number one and the go-to lately has been the 2011 Mexican Stratocaster, Suzanne. She's totally stock, minus the good Lord and Savior on the neck plate there. I don't know if she's showing up, but if you see
there's the holographic Jesus.
You've seen the holographic Jesus on the Strat.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, my most played one at the moment, still the PRS. But the Tally's a very, very close second. Now that I've got it back up and running and it plays well, for those who missed it earlier, I mentioned I had the nut replaced on there. I've put the Danny Gatton pickups back in, and
right.
I equally love that guitar. I mean, look, if I had to keep one, I'd probably keep the Tally now that it's back to how it should be. But the PRS is the guitar I'm playing the most, mostly for weight and just its ease of play. Like, I've never been a fanboy of that brand or anything like that. But man, it's I don't know if you guys have ever played a PRS, but there's some. Yeah, this one just really plays itself. It's easy to play. It almost makes me feel like I'm less challenged on guitar, which I need all the help I can get. So it's good.
Nice. Cheddar asks, how do I like the brass nut? I like it a lot because that's a very, very bright sounding guitar. Like it, I think it might weigh 6.5 pounds. It's super light, super bright. So the brass does help richen up the tone a bit. And James says, I have a first act Les Paul. No shame here. No shame, buddy, as long as you're playing. And a question for Shane. Let's see here. Strings. What kind of brand or size preference?
For years, I always used to get strings from webstrings.com because they're cheap. I'm not affiliated with them, or I don't own the business or anything like that for the trolls. But yeah, basically, I used to buy them all the time because they were cheap. They're like $2 something a pack. And I was like, this is great. Because strings in Australia for an electric guitar set is 10, 12, 15 bucks. So, yeah, it's pretty nasty. So I was buying them for a long time, but then I'd find like they were sitting in a drawer and then they'd corrode because they'd never sealed their packs. So I stopped buying those. And I would say on the most part, like the ones I buy the most are like Diodario's now. I can get a good 3-pack or 5-pack of these for less than I can get most of them. I just buy whatever I can get that's the cheapest. My two favorites, these, because I can get these cheap as well, the Power Slinkies. I used to use these exclusively for years.
Yeah, same here. That's what I used to use exclusively.
I can't tell a difference between either of these, to be honest. I couldn't tell you what was on them. I got to say, I like the color ends on the Diodarios, but yeah, look, I really couldn't care less. Whatever I can get for a bargain. That's what it comes down to now. That are sealed. I won't buy packs of strings that aren't sealed because they'll sit there for 3 months. And if,
we can usually get deals on Diodarios here, like 3 packs for $20.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good price. Cool. That's probably cheaper than what I pay here by a few bucks. So,
yeah, and I think our dollar's roughly on par with each other, but shipping costs where you are, right? That's the crazy part. My cousin says Hills is Jam Blasters band. Okay, and I see they say they're blues band. Cool. And thank you for the sub. I saw a few people have subscribed to us since we started, and thank you to each and every one of you for doing that. Thanks. So very cool.
It's a good community. I'm kind of lucky with in the blues community. Like the majority of the people there are awesome. You know, you get people that aren't subscribed that leave messages that you never want to read a second time. But yeah, a lot of the guys that are sort of in, the regular subscribers are awesome. So
yeah,
very cool. Like that.
Yeah, I think I came across your channel. I want to say 5, 6, at least 6 years ago. I came across something and I probably headed over to Richie's place later that day. I'm like, hey, you got to check out this guy from Australia. He's in the blues. And he's like, blues guy out of Australia? I'm like, yeah, man, you got to check it out. And he plays a lefty telly. Really? What does he review? I'm like, every pedal I've ever seen, it seems.
Yeah, that was the plan at one point, was to do, I think that's what kind of put me on the map. My goal was just review everything, whatever I can get in or demo. Back then I was doing a lot more just straight up demos. Because I always figured like, a lot of this stuff's subjective, and what I like isn't what the next guy's going to like, but just put it out there and see what people think.
Sure.
So I used to borrow everything off everybody I could long before I was getting anything for free. And that sort of really helped my channel grow and, in a way, I guess, helped companies find me for, wanting to get me stuff out here. And, I just got another email today with an offer for something. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want any more of that sort of stuff. But yeah, like the plan was in the old days, just get everything, and see what off friends and see what it's like and hopefully do a video. And back then I was kind of lucky. Like I remember I did one video. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I did a couple of videos in 1 week. And I noticed like I just got a lot of views. And I wasn't really watching subscribers that much over the years, but my views have always been like really big. I've been lucky like that. I might not have 150,000 subscribers, but my view count is actually way higher than a lot of channels that have 200,000 subscribers, because I've had a lot of videos back in the old days before that had a lot of hits, but I didn't necessarily ever tell people to subscribe. I wasn't that sort of guy for years. Like it was only until about 2012 is when I first started, I think, asking people, maybe subscribe. And I was like, oh, that actually works. Okay, I never thought about that. So subscribe to this guy.
I remember like Rich and I for years, we'd watch gear reviews, and like say, I've been watching you for 5, 6 years, but I think I only subscribed to you in the last year because
Yeah,
YouTube seems to have changed in the last couple of years of less just straight gear reviews. You know, it's like new pedal comes out, I go, okay, does Shane have it up? Does the Tone King have it? Does Gear Man Dude have it? You know, and that was about kind of it. And it was, you used YouTube more as a resource like Google, you know, to find out information on a product.
Absolutely.
Whereas
I do that with stuff too.
There's much more the community aspect with, like, when you do a live stream or like what we're doing right now. You know, it's more than just checking it out for information. It's now more of a lifestyle thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, I totally agree with you. I've started a secondary YouTube channel. Well, I got a few, but one that I'm adding to more and more is like camera review stuff and tech stuff as well. And I'm finding like I'm using other channels as a resource in many ways that, you know, people would come to me and ask questions and have a chat about stuff. I jump on a lot of other live streams where no one knows who I am, or you know, that I'm important, but you know, like they don't know I've got, you know, 90,000 subs almost, or whatever it is. But I'm asking questions about stuff much in the same way people have asked me thousands of questions. Like if I was to show you my Facebook page and how many hundreds of questions I get on there a month, it's insane. And I try to get back to everybody. I miss a few from time to time, but
sure,
it's like there's more to it than just showing people something new. And I didn't always jump on a lot of the gear bandwagons as well. I stuck to doing what I thought I wanted to do. And sometimes there's an opportunity for me to do stuff that other people are doing as well. And I'm not against doing that. Like Dan Electro wanted to send me their first 2 left-handed guitars they made. I was like, absolutely. Like, why? I'd be an idiot to say no.
Yep.
But I'm also in a different position here too. I never really get anything first.
Right.
And I kind of like that in a way, because much like these Origin amps that took me a while to get, I haven't checked the stats, but that video got 1,000 views in an hour. So
wow.
I have a feeling like people and this is the other thing too. I don't know if this comes, I went off topic with what you originally said, but sorry about that. But I get on these rants. I think it takes a lot of time to be trusted. And I meet people on the street or in shops. I go, hey, I bought this because of your video. Thanks so much. I love it. You know, if I was, you can only get, if I was to say to someone, oh, this is great, and it's a piece of junk, I'd find out about that really quickly. There's not a day that goes by. I go into a guitar shop and someone doesn't say, hey, oh man, you know, thanks, I watch your channel, you know, or whatever. So it's kind of like, oh wow, yeah, I forget I even do this stuff when I go into music shops. You know, like it's just, I go in there with my friends because we enjoy looking at guitars. So it's stuff we'd be doing anyway. But I find like the resource itself is just it's unlimited. And I always urge people to not just watch one person. Watch a lot of channels, get different opinions, try to find things that are both good and bad about something. And anytime brings me back to my point, anytime I'm looking at buying a new piece of camera equipment for the channel, which isn't all the time, like I upgrade every year or two, I spend months looking into what to buy, and I try to find as much information as I can before I make a final decision on anything. And I think everyone should do the same thing in the guitar niche. Don't just get suckered in by personalities or shop reviews, straight up shop reviews. Like, look around, make sure you wait. Don't ever buy anything on the bandwagon of hype, because there's been several times I've saved people a lot of money by not having, you know, by sort of saying, look, this isn't what I think everyone thought it was going to be. And I got a podcast coming up about some of this stuff as well, because I feel like it's a topic worth talking about. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, anyway, you're right. People do use it as a resource. Anyway,
like we do some gear reviews as well, and we try to keep it pretty honest. But on the other hand, we're using like Arden's music is nice enough, like similar to Sky with you, where they allow us, we have carte blanche their entire inventory to review. But if something's a piece of junk, I'm just not going to bother posting the video, you know, because I don't want to just sit there and slag a product that my buddy's trying to sell. But on the other hand, I'm not going to come on and go, oh, dude, you got to buy this. This is amazing. And it's a piece of junk.
Yeah, I think it works both ways. Like, you'll see a lot of guys like, you know, this is one thing with Philip McKnight, and I kind of commend him in many ways as well, but he won't do stuff he doesn't like. I think there's a difference between doing something you don't like and something that people expect to be good, and it isn't, right? There's a big difference there. Like, I didn't necessarily, would I go out and buy that Marshall 5-watt amp? No, but I feel like at least my review or my demonstration of it will say to people, that's actually how it sounds by a guy who's been doing this for 10 years. I don't want to buy this based on this video. I think there's a place for doing stuff that you might not necessarily like, but there's a middle ground there where I think sometimes, like with the Fender Mustang GT 200 amp that I actually purchased full retail price, and I was so underwhelmed by it, and it was nowhere near as good as the older version of the same amp, which I knew back to front, like my patches have had 500,000 downloads.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was coming from a place from experience, and I think if you put something in, if you frame why something might not be as good in context to something, you can get away with that. But you've also got to realize too, there's a lot of people who will just buy it based on, it might be their first amp or it might be their first pedal, and they're going to love it irrespective. And that's just part of it. But I think if you frame why you're not a big fan of it, that's different than just saying it's a piece of junk. And there's more, I think there needs to be more of that without just dismissing something blatantly based on its name or its look. Like if you say, this is why I don't like the sound of this, because I've had experience with this, and this, that's framing it correctly. I don't really buy into the, I'm not going to demo it because I don't like it. There's pedals I won't demo because I can't get the most out of it, right? And that's the stuff that I won't do, because I can't make a what are those stupid they're used in metal. They're like a octave thing with distortion. What are they called? I always forgot the ring
like
modulators. Ring modulators. Like what do they do, right? Like I don't know. So I'm not.
You have to write a piece of music around a ring modulator. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to do those because I just can't play them. And that, you know. Oh, I should also point out, I've been sent stuff too that I'm not going to demo because they're faulty, right?
Right.
But I'll put up a video saying like, this is, or I just send it back. I've done that as well, so I shouldn't probably say there's no right or wrong. But when something's really, if you think something's going to be really popular and it's blown out of proportion, I think there's more than enough. I think, you know, even, I don't know if you guys at the shops would be, how they'd feel about you posting a sort of your opinion on a video, but I find people appreciate that. And you got to remember, everyone likes different things. Right. And your opinion might not be the next guy's opinion. Like, some people love a Klon Centaur. Some people can't stand a Klon Centaur, but people are still going to buy them irrespective of your opinion. So the guys at the shop, when I started borrowing stuff, I borrow whatever I like from their store. I said to them, I'll give you a shout out on the video, but I'm not going to be a salesman on any of the videos. And I'm not, if I give my opinion, it's what, and they said, do whatever you like. Like, it doesn't matter. We're just happy to have our shop mentioned on your videos. So they don't care. Like, and I think as you grow, they won't care either. Just do what you think you need to do to express yourself.
Hey, Paul Glover's in the house, and I've had a few other people jump in that I've missed. Sorry if I've missed your names, guys. So, how are we doing on time here? Well, we're getting in there. So, well, we should probably wrap things up since we've gone over an hour here, and I know you are post-gig Monday, so Shane. So
that's all right.
I know. I did one of those. I did a live stream. I usually do these more in the afternoon, my time, on a Sunday, and we gigged the night before, and I call it like a post-gig hangout. And I was tired, and my voice was shot, and I did something wrong, and I accidentally deleted the hour-long stream. I felt so bad, and then Sinner was like, well, I guess you got to go live again. So I ended up going live again for a second time and almost retraced the exact 1 hour stream, topic for topic.
Wow.
And then I'm like, that's it, I'm done. So I know how it feels.
Cool.
You have anything to add at the end here, Richie?
Yeah. Just glad to have been
all right. You haven't been too ranty tonight.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Shane.
Yeah, you too. Thanks again for having me on, guys. It was
yeah,
it was good fun.
Real pleasure. I appreciate it. Hey, you know, like well, you've seen me in the chat on your streams and before and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I figure, you know, you're a cool guy. Why don't we do a hangout? And you know, maybe anyone that's watching, if you're not already subscribed to Shane's channel, I'll have a link to it down below if you're watching on the replay, and go and definitely check out his channel and stuff. Maybe I can send a couple extra people your way too. Yeah.
No, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, let us know what you think of the Marshall. I'd be interested to see, because this new one's getting very mixed reactions, which is what I actually expected it would. So
cool.
Yeah, it's funny how. Yeah, don't believe the hype. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. That's my sign off.
I hear you on that. Yeah. So yeah, I want to thank everyone in the chat. I appreciate all the new subscribers. My phone, every time I'm looking up, it seems like someone's subscribing. That's awesome, guys. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you're new, if you don't mind hitting a thumbs up on the way out, it doesn't cost you a thing. And if you're subscribed, make sure the bell looks like it's ringing. What else? We've got some links down below to check out. We have our channel sponsors, Arden's Music and Renofin Guitars. He's a custom guitar builder out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Shane. Does some amazing stuff.
Really nice.
One-man operation building guitars.
What was it called again, sorry? What was the...
Renofin, Renofin.
Okay.
Yeah, renofin.ca, no triple W. They'll take it. Man, he's got some amazing stuff on there. And yeah, everyone in the chat, it's always a pleasure, guys. I think I will be seeing everyone at some point later in the week. I'm going to have actually Travis, the owner of Renofin Guitars, on possibly tomorrow night or Wednesday. I'll let you know, Rich, as soon as I know. And we'll do another hangout with him and let him meet the viewers. And I think I'm going to be on Johnny Bean's show again on Tuesday night for those who watch Johnny Bean. And want everyone to have a great rest of the week. And remember, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It'll be 10 a.m. Friday in Australia in Shane's neck of the woods for Canucks with Guitars, our big weekly show. So until then, guys, if you two want to just hang on the line. And want to thank everyone again for tuning in. Stay safe, be nice to each other, and have yourselves a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you, folks.